Hey friends, here I am sitting out in my truck recording this episode of A Drink from Upstream. The reason I'm out in my truck is we have zero privacy in our office complex and in our main building. I have nowhere to record in there today, so I'm out in the truck in the church parking lot. So nonetheless, hopefully you can take this in. Here's what I'm going to talk to you about today. It's this. I have a very ambitious little apple tree in my front yard, and it's teaching me some things. I'm paying attention to my little apple tree, and this little thing is teaching me some important things. It's helping me. So here's the story of it. It has been in the ground in my front yard for 2.5 years. So the first year that we put it in the ground, it's like a little stick in the ground. And we didn't expect to get any fruit on it that year. We planted it in the spring. Of course, it's going to bear fruit in the summer, and it didn't bear any fruit. No big surprise. But the second year, now a year and a half later, it's like, hey, it's growing, but it's still pretty small. But we got a few blossoms, and sure enough, we got 3 apples on our tree. And we tried to let them mature, and unfortunately, it got a lot of worms in those 3 apples, and so we didn't get any apples off it that year. However, this is year 2.5, and this thing is chock full of apples. Like, I can't even believe it. This still pretty small little tree. The trunk is pretty small in diameter, but this thing has got well over 100 apples on it, or at least it had, because I've been having to do some work on it, right? So I noticed that the branches were sagging so much that I began to put sticks in the ground and prop these branches up. And unfortunately, a couple of them, I went on vacation, came back, and a couple of really good branches that I didn't prop up had gotten so heavy by the weight of the fruit that they broke. And I'm like, oh man, I blew it. And hopefully the tree will be okay. But here's the thing, I am not a master gardener. That tree is doing pretty good, but it could be doing way better if I knew what I was doing. And it makes me think of John 15. So you probably, if you're familiar with the Bible and with the New Testament, you've probably read John's Gospel. And John 15 is Jesus teaching, and this is what he says, just 2 verses. He says this to his disciples. He says, I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. The vine dresser there is like a master gardener, somebody who knows precisely what to do to make his trees or his shrubs or whatever they are flourish and be as fruitful as possible. So I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. And then he says this, every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away, and every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes, that it may be more fruitful. So God knows what he's doing in our lives. And if you're a follower of Christ, I hope that you get to the place. First, I hope that you're like my little apple tree. I hope that you have just tons of ambition and you just want to be as fruitful as possible. And but I also hope that you have enough trust in God to know what should stay and what should go in your life. And that takes, it really is a trust thing, right? I think there's a certain element of maturity in that, but it really is a settled trust that as we abide in Christ, as we live in Christ, we are the branches, he's the vine, and the Father is the master gardener. And so if things in our lives, if quote, branches in our lives aren't going to be fruitful, God will remove those so that the branches that do bear fruit will be as fruitful as possible. He has the perspective and the wisdom to be able to do that so well in our lives. And I hope that our ambitions are at least tethered to the trust in God that is necessary for that. So here's something. I made a statement a couple of weeks ago as my big idea in a sermon from Matthew's Gospel, 20th chapter. And that was this, that everything Jesus does or doesn't do in our lives is so that we will follow him. And these 2 thoughts are tied together, right? So if everything that Jesus does in our lives is so that we will follow him, and if everything he doesn't do in our lives is for the sake of us following him, it's kind of like this. It's kind of like that John 15 passage where if a branch isn't going to be fruitful, God removes it because he's the master gardener. And if a branch is fruitful, he will prune it so that it's as fruitful as it can possibly be. So that's my thought for you today, friends. I hope that you are in a place where you're just very ambitious for the things of God and to be fruitful for Him, but that ambition is tethered to the trust that is necessary for God, the trust that is necessary in God working in us to help us to be all that He desires us to be. So there you go, a drink from Upstream. God bless you.